Hey, this is Richard Mellor here again, Facts for Working People. I don't have a lot of time today, but I'm reading the papers, trying to catch up on the election and everything that's happened. And of course, as time goes by, we'll start to understand a little more about it. But there are some general points. I was reading in the paper today, of course, and I read it yesterday. Van Jones, he was an advisor to. He's in the Democratic Party. He's a big mucky in the Democratic Party. And he's an African-American guy, and he was talking about this election and how it's a white lash. He says it's a white lash, and it's a white lash against a black president in part. Well, I accept that there's white people in this country that could not and cannot abide by a black man, by an African man, a man of African descent, being a president of the United States and representing all of us. That exists, but this is not what. It's much more complicated than this, and also, well, it's not so complicated if you look at it, because if you look at somewhere like I was reading this morning some statistics, Macomb County, I think it's in Ohio. Obama beat Romney there by 17,000 votes in the previous election in 2012. Trump beat Clinton in the same area this election by 50,000 votes. So obviously there were plenty of white, and this is a white county, white populated county. So plenty of white people voted for Obama over a white man, over a businessman in 2012. So it's clearly not. That's clearly not simply the issue. It's a white backlash. It's a white backlash against the decimation of the white working class in this country, and most importantly, in the failure of the political parties to address that. And Trump addressed it. It says, they have it right here. This is in the Financial Times. Paul Ryan speaking. He says Donald Trump heard a voice out in this country that no one else heard. He connected in ways with people no one else did. He turned politics on its head. He tapped into a growing pessimism among voters, particularly white working class men without a college degree, about their economic and cultural future with his Make America Great Again. And so the thing is, he did tap into that. And the problem with these political parties, both the Republicans and the Democrat, because he's a maverick in the Republican Party, that party. He tapped into it for electoral reasons. We're going to see more anger as time progresses, because he's going to savage those very people that voted for him. But the thing is if you think some of the problem with these two parties, and the Democratic Party in particular, which is dominated by the white petty bourgeois, by liberals who have nothing but contempt for the working class anyway. So you have these political parties that they look at the way they run the elections in the United States. They leave half of the electorate that don't bother to vote. They don't care about them. They pick the states where these parties, where they call them swing states here, where they've got the thing sewn up. That's the end of it. But then they battle it out in these 3 or 4 states. And so that's all they care about is whatever section of the bourgeois, whatever section of the ruling class can get into power and govern society for the next 4 years. So what about that resentment? We've seen statistics over the last year or so about the decline in white population, white working class living standards. There's living standards. I'm very well aware of that. I've been in the United States for 43 years, and the white working class living standards has been decimated, been savaged. Industrial jobs have gone, and all of that. It's not just about white privileges in the way that the liberals put it. It's that people's lives have been decimated, and so. You've had a decline in the life expectancy. You've got areas of in the Midwest, extreme, like in West Virginia, which is a basket case, massive drug abuse, the same problems you get in the inner cities among the black population and among the urban population, the same problems that are caused by economic crisis, lack of a future, hope, in other words, the vagaries of the market, as Marx put it, the savagery of the market. And neither party really addresses this. And why don't they address this? Because neither party appeals to the working class on a basis of uniting the working class. The Democrats don't give a damn about it. They appeal to the black population in that way, the black working class population in that way, on the basis of racism. They don't care about black workers either. But the black workers have nowhere to turn. I think it was both Glenn Ford and Dixon and the other author that I read, it's a female author, a woman author in the Black Agenda Report, that refers to that they'll vote for the Democrats, the black population, because anything but the white man's party. So the Democratic Party rests a lot on the trade union leadership, who have lost any credibility at all, and the black population who don't, unlike people, white people, have no other real alternative at this point. But so neither of those parties will operate on a basis of trying to unite the working class, and bring the working class together, because both parties represent Wall Street, both parties represent sections of the capitalist class, and to unite the working class along racial, religious sectarianism, gender lines is absolutely out of the question for them. It's out of the question for the black petty bourgeois. It's out of question for the white petty bourgeois. Although these two similar classes, they're very different in the sense of their social weight and their social power because of racism, because of population and everything else. So the thing is, they've ignored this white working class, the savagery of the white working class, the savage attacks on the white working class at their peril. And I remember one time at our union meeting, me and Roger Martinez walked in there, and we saw these two guys in suits, and we said, "Oh, are you lawyers?" Of course, they weren't lawyers. They were officials from the AFL-CIO. They were staffers. We'd never seen anybody from the AFL-CIO, I don't think. But that's what they looked like, lawyers. And we did that to be a little sarcastic. But they'd come for that freedom ride that they'd organised, the AFL, based on Martin Luther King's freedom ride. It had nothing in similar with it other than the title. And it was to go to Washington it was a freedom ride, and it was the dominant theme was immigrant rights. And we got up and we opposed it. We said, you're going to go through a Midwestern town. They were taking buses all through America to end up in Washington, D.C. for a meeting and a rally. You're going to go through a Midwestern town where jobs have been decimated, where people have lost everything, and predominantly white workers and predominantly Native American workers in terms of being born here. And the dominant theme is going to be immigrant rights, and the factory's gone to Mexico. This is the insanity of the AFL-CIO leadership and the leadership of the organised labour in the United States. So we opposed it. We attacked those that spoke in an anti-immigrant reason for opposing it. We didn't agree with them. But that's a disaster. One thing to call for immigrant rights, jobs for all, housing for all. In other words, unite the working class around those things. So you've got that situation, and so it's not necessarily a white backlash against black people, and there is a cultural issue about it. Older people like myself, seeing their whole lives just disintegrate. And like one woman here I was reading, she says she was a Democrat all her life, an older lady. This is from the Rust Belt, and she says. I worked hard my whole life, and I saw families not working. They're on welfare, and there were jobs available. She says. She chokes up, and she says, "I think it's going to be a new Washington. I think it's going to be a new country. I think we have lost pride in America in the last 20 years, and I think here's pride, and I want to see that come back." And so the other thing is, a lot of I was reading today, 53% of white women voted for him, and a lot. Then they quote some of them. Well, of course, those people were. One was a surgeon. I mean, these people look at business people and they think that they're successful, and they think that they're successful. Got to ignore that phone. Sorry. And the sad thing about that is that. Why is class consciousness so low that people think a businessman can actually be of some help to you? And one of the reasons for that is, I'll get back to this again, is the trade union leadership. The trade union leadership are a disgrace. Trump tapped into that despondency and despair in the white working class communities. The trade union leadership have ignored it. They've ignored it. So that's been festering. It's been there. Trump's not a genius. There's just the two, particularly the Democratic Party, which is full of liberals that have contempt for both black and white working class people, but will use either one or the other. So that's been going on for a long time. They've ignored the white working class at their peril. These parties will not bring the white working class and the black working class and the Latino working class together as an independent working class force. Trump, at his acceptance speech, or his not his acceptance speech, his victory speech, what did he do? He got up and watched that speech. That was not the Donald Trump that we've seen. He reassured the American ruling class, it's okay. Profits are protected. He's going to savage the very people that voted for him. Okay, that's what he's going to do. The working class people that voted for him, and there's going to be tremendous anger among those people that voted for him when the dust settles. And then that ultra right wing nationalist types, the white nationalists, Nazis, and everything else, they're not going to go away. He's fanned the flames of that. And you know what? That's in that same speech, Trump was talking about time for healing. What is he talking about? He fueled racism. He fueled sexism. He's a degenerate, racist, misogynistic pig. And he's a con man. He's no friend of the white worker. He's no friend of the black worker. He's never worked in his life. Everything he's had has been given to him. Okay? But the question is, elections and why people vote the way they do is a complicated issue. And we should look at it always from a working class perspective. There's going to be some turmoil here ahead. And I'll tell you, when he talks about healing, I have no desire to heal any relationships with Donald Trump or anybody that supports him on his racist, anti-worker, misogynistic ideology. Plenty of people, voting is one thing, but there are those that we've seen. And he's never condemned the violence in his rallies. He's never condemned the vicious racist language toward Obama. He's never condemned the sexist language toward Hillary Clinton. You can't get up at the end of that thing and tell me what he said. He's a liar and a con man. And we're going to see that many of those that supported him now are going to be very, very angry, including those white nationalist, racist, Klan, Nazi characters. But just the millions that are looking to him for hope. So the only solution. And you know, I've read 2 days after, that dog that doesn't bark, the pathetic trade union leadership in this country that has immense potential power in its hands, in the Democratic Party, hanging out at the tailcoats of the Democratic Party, a disgusting role they played. We've got to change that situation within organised labour. We've got to build a united working class direct action movement to take on Trump, the big business. The big business now are going to want to make it safe. They care about their profits. That's all they care about. So I'm sorry about the phone. I forgot to turn it off, but I just had to say something. I'm going to be busy today. I wanted to say something, and I'll talk to you later. This is Richard Mellor for Facts for Working People.